Now in his prime, Paul Pierce has already left his mark on one of the game's most storied franchises.
We got the greatest steal probably in the history of the draft.
But a case could be made that he never should have come to Boston in the first place. In 1998, Paul's junior year at Kansas, he was considered a top 5 draft pick.
A lot of times I'd look and I said, that guy can't guard him. And I would yell, take him. But I'm not sure I've ever done it to anyone else. He's the best scorer that I've ever had.
At his final home game that year, even the Kansas faithful could sense the future.
It was a national televised game. I must have reeled off like 16 or 17 straight points.
He's in a zone right now. I think you could put a blindfold on him.
It was so crazy. The crowd was chanting, one more year, one more year. Kelvin Sampson, Oklahoma's coach, stood up and said, no, no.
Good evening.
Sampson was right.
And welcome to the 1998 NBA
I was in the green room. I'm in the room with all the other lottery picks.
Before the draft even starts, everybody's kind of relaxing around, but once it starts, it's kind of a hush, and you can feel the tension in there.
With the first pick in the 1998
They start calling off names, and they didn't call Paul's name at 1, they didn't call him at 2.
We just like holding our breath every time they call out a new name.
When the third pick came up, there was a camera at our table and a camera at Raef LaFrence's table.
The Denver Nuggets select Raef LaFrentz from the University of Kansas.
We thought he would go 2 or 3 in the draft, and he's slipping. And then all of a sudden, we're all trying to gather information to say what's wrong with him.
With the 4th, with the 5th pick in the 1998.
As it went to 5th pick, 6th pick, 7th pick, we're saying there's no chance. There's no chance that this is going to happen.
With the 9th pick in the 1998 NBA draft.
When I'm looking over at my brother, looking over at Scott, looking over at my mom, you know, nobody knows what's going on.
You feel embarrassed, like, hey, what did I do wrong?
The reason his stock dropped down was really out of shape, but when the source said he was soft.
I was there at the workout. I was an eyewitness. You know, everywhere he went, he just shot the ball lights out.
But when we realized that Paul had dropped to us, we just went crazy. We just started all yelling.
The waiting game would end at 10.
With the 10th pick in the 1998 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics select Paul Pierce.
I went back to my room that night and cried. I said, what happened?
Sometimes it comes down to teams picking by position.
Those other teams were either going to go point guard or go real big.
I told him, I said, hey, Paul, you're back in the green and white, just like at Inglewood, so nothing changes.
On the court, not much did.
Paul Pierce has taken command. His game is at another level right now.
Started out really fast. You know, I ended up getting Rookie of the Month the first month.
Number 34 began his professional career as a role player under Rick Pitino.
I'm kind of intimidated by the guy. He has one of those voices, you know, where it kind of scares you.
Despite Paul's play and Pitino's enthusiasm, the young Celtics were often outmanned and overwhelmed.
In college, I probably lost a total of, 11 games at most. And then I come to the Celtics, and in my first, 3 weeks, we go on a 9-game losing streak. And I'm like, man, this is tough.
Yeah, Reed steps to this one. No, rims it right there. Pierce, he may have turned an ankle.
A severe ankle sprain would nag him the rest of his rookie season. That fall, the 21-year-old would realize just how far from Inglewood he had come. He and fellow rookie Sharif Abdur-Rahim flew to Taiwan to teach basketball clinics as part of the Nike Hoops Tour.
When I got to the airport, they had people out there asking for autographs. They had my basketball card. I felt like the president. You know, more people recognized me overseas than they did at home.
He returned to Boston in September with a new sense of celebrity. Just days later, calamity struck in his wake.
You know, a big earthquake, people die, buildings, you know, get torn up. I'm thinking somebody, you know, was watching over me. If I was over there, you know, a couple days longer, there would be no, you know, Paul Pierce in the NBA today.
Pierce. All the way.
When his second season began just weeks later, Hall was determined to play to his potential.
It was his time to run his own show. He filled the shoes and he stepped up.
He and forward Antoine Walker gave Celtics fans everywhere hope for the future. Boston again missed out on the postseason, but the foundation for a return to glory was in place.
I remember the next draft. We really weren't too excited about it. We were at a workout facility, and I looked out, and it was Paul working out for about an hour, and I said, we don't have to worry about this draft. Our answer's right there. We're flawed.
September 2000, the Celtics Young Stars host a ticket drive. Both players and fans are anxious to start the season.
I worked so hard that summer. Now it's time to unleash the dragon.
We just wanted to go out and hang, enjoy a little music.
Let's just have some fun while we can before camp starts.
He was stabbed in the face, the neck, and the back.
He was in pretty rough shape when he was wheeled in the door.
The emergency staff at New England Medical Center debated cutting open Paul's chest to determine the damage.
A midline incision from stem to stern, allowing us to look at all the organs, put our hands in, feel things, and make sure that there's no other injuries.
The procedure could have hospitalized Paul for 6 weeks or more. Instead, they chose a relatively new procedure, laparoscopic surgery, sending a tiny scope into Paul's body through his belly button.
We were actually able to take the camera and go right up into his chest cavity and inspect his lungs and inspect the bottom surface of his heart and also make sure that those were not injured.
Had he gone to a different hospital that night, the less invasive treatment may not have been an option.
Everything was right there for Paul, and I thank God for that.
As doctors worked to save Paul's life, Boston police began a baffling investigation. The attempted murder of a local hero.
Here we have a very serious and brutal, some would say savage assault, and nobody from the nightclub, no employee, no bouncer, no bartender, or anyone associated with the Buzz Club contacted the police.
I think there's a lot of people who know what happened. I guess you could take it from a government standpoint and say they've been threatened or they're in fear of their lives.